Everybody, a new group of Americans have been approved for a new $1,000 Ford stimulus check. This new batch of inflation relief payments are set to go out to eligible people in just a few weeks. The lawmakers have laid out a brand new action plan to address the rising cost of living. So make sure to watch until the end of the video to learn how to receive this check. Millions of Californians are eagerly waiting for their first inflation relief payments as we get closer to October disbursement dates. This isn't the first time the state issued direct payments to residents. You might remember the Golden State Stimulus Program of 2021. That sent checks to millions of lower and middle income Californians. But there are major differences between the Golden State Stimulus checks and the inflation relief checks expected to be out soon. And this time around, many more people qualify actually. One major concern Californians have is people who rely on the exclusivity of Social Security, disability, or other public sources of assistance as their source of income. Now, with the Golden State Stimulus, everybody, people whose sole source of income was public assistance were not eligible for a payment because their tax form showed $0 of California adjusted gross income. Californians needed between $1 and $75,000 of income to qualify for this Golden State Stimulus. However, with the middle class tax refund this year, even people who reported $0 of adjusted gross income on their taxes can still qualify for a check. The payments range from $200 to $1,000 depending on your income. A couple filing jointly who relies solely on Social Security or disability will receive $750 without dependents or $1,000 with at least one dependent. The Franchise Tax Bureau reminds Californians that there are other criteria people need to meet to receive a check, including residency requirements and tax deadlines. Overall, the state estimates that more than 23 million people will receive a payment. The payments will start going out in October, everybody. And also, fewer Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week as the Labor Department continues to stand out as one of the strongest segments of the U.S. economy. Applications for jobless aid for the week ending August 20th fell by 2,000 to 243,000. First-time applications generally reflect layoffs and are often seen as an early indicator of where the job market is heading. Hiring in the United States in 2022 has been remarkably strong, even as the country faces rising interest rates and weak economic growth. U.S. employers added 528,000 jobs in July, more than double what forecasters had expected. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.5%, tying a 50-year low, reached just before the crisis slammed the U.S. in early 2020. The state of Illinois continues to lag the rest of the nation with its unemployment rate. An analysis shows Illinois currently has a 4.4% unemployment rate. Compared to the U.S. average of 3.5%, Illinois economy also continues to trail the rest of the nation as the state finishes 48th for the worst unemployment change last month. The Missouri Republican Governor Mike Parson announced this week that state legislators will return to Jefferson City for a special session to pass a sweeping income tax and extended tax credit for farmers. The tax plans will be introduced in the Missouri Senate under one bill. The proposed permanent tax cut, if approved, will lower Missouri's top individual income tax rate from 5.3 to 4.8%. The agricultural tax credit plan would actually reauthorize a variety of tax credit for farmers that would expire after 6 years instead of the 2-year that lawmakers approved this year. Governor Parsons' announcement came after July decision to veto 2 tax proposals approved by lawmakers. The first measure would have sent one-time payments to Missourians who owed income taxes capped at $500 or $1,000 for married couples filing jointly. The governor has touted his new plan as an opportunity to provide yearly savings to Missourians instead of a one-time check.
Let's get to work. Let me begin by thanking Ranking Member Graham and the other members of the committee for being with us this morning. Some will be here, some will be virtual. And I also want to thank the many witnesses who will be with us today remotely because of the pandemic. Today, we are going to be discussing an issue that, in my view, is of enormous consequence, both morally and economically, but it is an issue that gets far too little discussion, and that is the crisis of income and wealth inequality in our country. The simple truth is that today in America, the very, very rich are getting much richer, while tens of millions of working-class Americans are struggling to put food on the table and take care of their basic needs. This morning, we are going to learn why it is that the middle class in our country, once the envy of the world, the whole world looked to the United States and saw a growing and strong middle class, but why it is that great middle class has been in decline for decade after decade after decade, while at the same time there has been a massive transfer of wealth from working families to the top 1%, an issue that needs to be discussed. We're going to be talking about why it is that during this horrific pandemic, 63% of our workers have been living paycheck to paycheck, worry that if somebody in the family gets sick or the car breaks down, they will be thrown into financial desperation because they don't have the money to pay those bills. Meanwhile, same exact time, 660 billionaires, richest people in America, have become $1.3 trillion richer. So during the pandemic, millions of people are struggling, put food on the table. A handful of billionaires are becoming much richer. We're going to talk about the obscenity of the 50 wealthiest Americans now owning more wealth than the bottom half of our society. 50 people, half of our people, 160 million people. While at the same time, over 90 million Americans are uninsured, have no health insurance, or are underinsured, can't afford to go to a doctor when they get sick. Is that the America that we want? I don't think so. We'll be asking about how it happens that the top 1/10 of 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. 1/10 of 1% more wealth than the bottom 90%. And two individuals, Bezos and Musk, now own more wealth than the bottom 40%. And meanwhile, we're looking at more hunger in America than at any time in decades. Incredibly, if income inequality had remained the same as it was in 1975, the average worker in America would be making $42,000 more today than he or she is earning. Instead, as the number of billionaires explodes, the average worker in America is now making $32 a week less than he or she made 48 years ago after adjusting for inflation. So you got a huge explosion in technology, worker productivity, average worker today making less in real dollars than they did 48 years ago. And today we're going to be talking about what it means morally and economically when one person in this country, the wealthiest person in the world, Jeff Bezos, has become $77 billion richer during this horrific pandemic while denying hundreds of thousands of workers who work at Amazon